Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Reflections of Your Mirror. I'm here with Iris Pitaluga, and I am Jessica Arenas. For those that don't know, Iris Pitaluga is the author of The Reflections of Your Mirror, and the book, the manuscript, is actually printed. She has it in her hands. Do you have a copy with you right now just to show?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. It's real now. We can touch it. It's tangible.
This
Yeah,
is my first time seeing her hold it. She sent a picture on social media, if you guys haven't seen that yet, with her and Alex, who's her daughter. She's the actual the artist who designed the entire cover, and I think it came out so beautiful. Can we see it one more time?
Yes. Here it is. I love the colors. It came out really nice.
Oh my Lord, this is such
and all the images inside, they come out really nice because we have like black and white images and images of colors. It's really, I'm really happy with the result.
Yes. That's awesome. So we're so excited that you guys are going to be able to see this in person yourselves. Edie's has some feedback to provide to the publisher, and then we should get all of the copies ready for our launch, which will be coming very soon. We're hoping early summer, so stay tuned for that. Without further ado, we have this final video for you guys that we were brainstorming and thinking of ideas of what would kind of summarize our videos to launch the book, and then Edie's will come out with some other amazing content in the future regarding the book. As you have been seeing, a lot of these posts have been showing you everything related to what we've been discussing, you know, codependency, self-love, value, and also healthy boundaries. But we're going to talk about specifically today on providing you guys with habit breaking tools, which we will be showing you the actual tables that Edie's has in the book for you. So you'll actually be able to see these once you purchase the book. And we're going to just go ahead and kick it off. Edie's, do you have any words before we get started?
No, basically, you know, our goal with this video should be like kind of like wrap it up and give the viewers a summary of, you know, what is the purpose of the book, and in practical life, how does it show and what are the steps to be taken. And that's why we want to show the habit breaker profile, which is pretty much what summarizes everything, you know, going from the beginning of how the habits were developed, why we do it, the payoff, and what are the alternatives that we can take. So pretty much, you know, I hope that we can accomplish that today.
Yes, we definitely will. We have some questions that we already came up with for you guys, but we just want to emphasize the fact that this book is like a guide for you as you go on your journey. There's no deadline, there's no timeline. We respect the pace that you're going at, but what I love about the way that Edie's put this book together is that you can go to the table of contents and say, okay, I dealt with some of these things today, and then you can jump right in wherever you're at, and it's like you can use it as you're moving forward with your therapist or with your pastor, with whoever is helping you kind of achieve these things. You can use this as a guide with that in conjunction with whatever, you know, other tools that you're using. So we'll go ahead and get started. So a lot of us, you know, that haven't had a moment of introspect or self-reflection are, you know, people might think habits of like biting your nails, you know, not making your bed, you know, those things are habits that I think we can all work at overcoming. But in this book, we're working on other types of habits, but Edie's is going to talk more about that. But Edie's, can you tell our viewers, how are habits formed? How do we develop these habits?
I'm glad that you made that clarification, because when people hear habits, they think of, you know, like simple habits that, you know, that we all humans have. But this goes beyond that. This goes to the habits of thinking, believing, feeling, and behaving, which makes everything, you know, it summarizes everything that is composed in a human life. And we don't think of those as habits, but the reason why they're habits is because we are addicted to them. And the reason we're addicted to them is because we have repeated them. You know, our brain is a machine. And everything that we learn, once it becomes a learned behavior, it becomes automatic. It becomes like second nature. And we are not aware, we are not conscious that we're doing it. So we go through life 85 to 90% of the time, as we have said before, repeating thinking patterns which are very harmful to ourselves and to other people. And those thinking patterns, they turn into emotions that many times are chronic emotions, the negative ones, sadness, loneliness, anxiety, depression. And then at the same time, we not only harm ourselves, but we harm other people, and we actually create blockage in our lives. It interferes with our ability to be the best version of ourselves. It interferes with our dreams, with our happiness, with our health, our well-being. It interferes with everything, and we don't know where they come from, and we're so attached to them that we think, well, that's the way I am. Mm-hmm. And people don't realize the power that we have in changing, but not changing because you're supposed to lose your identity, because these bad habits are not your identity. They're not your personality as much as you think they are. These are a product of a trauma, a faulty belief system that was formed early in life, and you think you own it. And the idea with this book is to tell people, no, that's not you. Right. If it doesn't feel good, if it doesn't make you thrive, if it doesn't make you enjoy life and continue moving forward, it's not you. Right. It has to go away. It doesn't fit you. So it's just to give people enough material, enough tools to make them aware that they can be different, and by different means being who you really are meant to be.
Yes, Edie, that's something that you hit some very important points that I think we should just emphasize on, that what you were told and like how you were influenced based on your trauma and the belief system that you developed throughout your life is not the bad habits out of that experience are not your identity. And that's what this book does, is provide you the opportunity to give you the tools to empower yourself to be able to change them so that you can be your authentic self. That like summarizes who you are as like a professional, and the message that you give to each of your client and your colleagues, so for those that just like tuned in or have first time we're watching our videos, Edith and I have been friends for over almost 7 years now, and I can attest to that. Like this is the message behind it. So if this is what you're looking for, a resource or a tool to be able to help you at least gain that, that awareness, you're in the right place. So I love how you explained all of that, Edie. I'm sure the viewers are going to take a lot from just that point. Also, we were wondering, sometimes people are like, okay, so this is who I am. I know in my family, we would always be like, because my mom comes from a really large family. She's one of 18. Some of them have gone to be with the Lord, so they're not all still here on earth. But anyways, a huge family. And their excuse for certain behavior would always be like, oh, but this is because we're from the Los Rodriguez. So we're from the Rodriguez family. And so how, the next question was, what are some common excuses people can make when it comes to changing a habit, and how can we change the bad habit?
That's one of them. It runs in my family. That's the way I've always been. Everybody in my family, they're shy, they're stubborn, they're angry, whatever, depressed, we're not good at sports. So it's a repetition of, wherever I come from, that's how I'm supposed to be. Or I don't have the means to do it, or my relationship, there's always, or I don't have, the beauty for that, or my body's not fit for that. So whenever you confront people, or people confront themselves about what they want in life, immediately the dreams are blocked by a set of excuses, and excuses that they find themselves very valid. I don't mean to say that people lie. Is that the problem is that they believe it themselves. Right. They believe those excuses. They believe that they have limitations, that other people can get something that they cannot get because other people are different, because other people have a different makeup, and that is a big lie.
Yeah.
You know, that's something. But other than that, I find, Jesse, that the biggest excuse behind, you know, people resistance to change is the fear behind that step that they need to take in order to change. And sometimes people even don't think of that. Like if somebody is in a very toxic relationship, in a very controlling relationship, and they're not aware, they might think it's normal. They're suffering, they're struggling, they're not happy, but they might think it's normal because they're so attached and so codependent to that relationship. And then you present this person with alternatives and tools in order to achieve a dream that they have. But they know that following those steps will interfere with that relationship. Following the steps could be, you know, translated to going after that career choice that you want so much, you know, and you find out through a friend that they're offering that online, and that you have to dedicate some time to that, and you know, your heart goes for that. But at the same time, the fear is more powerful, because you know that following of that goal, of that desire, of that dream, of that trip, or you know, calling your friends, and you know, spending time with your family, doing exercise, doing things for yourself, you know that it will create tension with that particular, you know, special person in your life, and immediately you block it. And sometimes you don't even associate what you block in it. You just come up with another excuse. See, for people to change for the good and follow their steps, most of the time they have to confront a fear of letting go of something, letting go of someone in their life, letting go of a belief system, letting go of an addiction. So whenever people have to confront fear, then, you know, the balance comes up. If the fear is greater than the desire for change, then who's going to win?
Right.
The fear is going to be more powerful. Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome, Edie. I think that something that you're really good at is emphasizing the fact that if we just step out into fear and believe that we can make those changes, that we do have the tools, we do have the power within us to make the difference in our lives that we're seeking. I think that's when you just get over that hump. We are surprised by what life has for us. Like I think we conform to having that lifestyle of just settling, and like, because this is part of my family, this is what it is, like we just settle and we make those excuses. So I think, yeah, you made a good point. If you are watching this and you're perhaps knowing you have some things to change, we all are a work in progress. This is an everyday process to work on ourselves for the rest of our lives. I know perfection is not attainable. But I think we can find that even ground where we're able to reach the goals that we want, whether that's a family, whether that's a career, like you mentioned, whether those are healthy long-term relationships and being of service, or whatever it is that fulfills you. I think once you step out in fear and work hard towards getting that, you'll be surprised at what you could achieve, right, Edie?
Yes, and unfortunately, people generally change when they're threatened. When they're threatened to, they've pushed so much to the limits, you know, in terms, let's say, you know, for the health, if they get sick, if they get diagnosed with an incurable disease, or if they get threatened by divorce, you know, the toxic relationship they have been so much holding on to and avoiding changes in their life because they don't want to lose it, it happens to be threatened because, you know, it got to the limit in which you realize it's going to happen no matter what. Right. So unfortunately, we wait until things are really, really bad in order to make a change. And we don't have to. One of the messages that I'm trying to convey in this book is that you don't have to wait until things get to that level,
yes,
in which you have created so much damage in your life. You have wasted time, you have wasted energy, you have wasted health, you have generated, fear and anger and sorrow and all that. We don't need to do that. We don't have to take it to those extremes, because sometimes there is no remedy, and that. Sometimes if we take it to some extreme with a relationship, with an illness, with an addiction, you might have gotten to a point of no return. Okay, so because our bodies are very resilient, but sometimes it's just too much. So one of the messages that we're trying to convey is that you don't really have to wait to that point. By making conscious awareness to get to know yourself and having an honest look of yourself in the mirror and saying, what are the things about me that cause me problems in my life, that cause me to repeat the same patterns of everything, of jobs, of finances, of relationships, you name it. So how do I contribute to that? Because most of the time what we want to do is blame, to find excuses, to find justifications, to rationalize. But growing up is about being mature enough to face yourself and say, I am a contributor, I am not a victim. And once you take that position, then change begins to happen. And I'll be giving you sufficient tools to go back and kind of put the puzzle together and realize, okay, this is what made me be the way I am.
Yes.
But this is not who I wanted to be. This is not who I'm meant to be, and I can change.
Yes. And I think that it's a perfect segue into us wanting to share the table. I think for those that are like myself, as a visual learner, to have this tool of the table within the book, we're going to go ahead and put it on the screen now, Edie, so we can go through it. People will be able to see how the pieces to the puzzle start being formed. With this table, with this exercise. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now so our viewers can see what I'm describing, and that way you can speak to it. Let me go ahead and share screen. Okay, so here it is. Can you see it, Edie?
So I believe that we're looking at the table 1 of the habit breaker analysis.
Correct.
And the behavior that we're analyzing is the behavior of negative thinking, worrying, and anxiety. This is a thinking pattern. This is not something that you inherited. This is not something that you were born with. This is something that you acquired through life. And the examples here, it doesn't mean that they apply to everybody. This is a typical example, but we all come from different sources and different environments, and it doesn't have to be the same for everyone. But the reason why I created this formula is to help you work in yourself and figure it out. What is your pattern? What in your particular case, do an analysis and figure it out where it came from. And for that, you do have to apply the exercise that I suggest in the book, and one of them is self-reflection. So in this particular case, this person says the original source, how the habit was learned or formed. I recall my mother always being very anxious, very fearful, overprotective, controlling. I remember phrases like, be careful, don't try this, don't try that. I'm sure a lot of you guys can relate to that. I grew up in an atmosphere of fear, anxiety, and jumpiness. There were a lot of secrets and lies in my family. Very often, my parents would give me permission to do something and later on take it away. There was uncertainty and inconsistency. My parents often argue about money and decisions. I grew up with a lot of noise, screams, anger, anxiety, complaints, criticism, disapproval, punishment, etc. So this is the profile of a particular person that made her or him develop a thinking pattern of worrying, anxiety, and negative thinking. Why? Because this type of background, not only we learn through imitation and also by developing defense mechanisms in order to adapt to the environment we're in. So this particular person, this particular child, after being involved in that type of environment, he not only imitated the behavior of the parents who were fearful and anxious, but he or she also learned to defend themselves by protecting themselves, to think negatively and to be like overreactive in order to survive. Because for this person, this environment, the message that this environment conveys is that the world is unsafe. You need to be fearful. You need to be self-protective. You need to be reactive because the world is out to get you. So that by itself is a belief system. So let's go into the column of payoff. Payoff is what you might get out of keeping the habit. In this example of being, a negative thinking, of worrying and being an anxious person. Why do I call it a payoff? Because it is a way of self-protection. It is a way of alleviating yourself, or thinking that you can alleviate yourself. At the time that you develop the habit, these were the payoff. But the problem with the payoff is that we keep repeating them through life, and eventually they turn against us. They become our worst enemy, but we continue repeating them because that's what we know, that's what we do. They have become second nature. They have become habituated in us. So one of the payoff, and I want to notice here that payoff are very much attached to the belief system. Worrying keeps me from getting disappointed. So this particular person learned to think negatively and to always think of the worst case scenario because he or she thinks that being that way keeps him from disappointment. If I don't worry, it means that I don't care. There is a general cultural belief, especially for parents, that worrying is caring. And, I give in the book enough explanations to show you that it is the contrary of that. Because when we worry for the people that we care about, we are harming them, and we are creating an outcome for them, or contributing to create an outcome for them that is not the healthiest one. And we don't develop good relationships when we embrace relationships with fear and worry. So worrying keeps me safe. It is not true. In reality, it is the contrary. The person who worries the most is a person who tends to get sick more often. They're more prone to accidents. They're more prone to making mistakes because the mind is constantly scattered and occupied with the background noise of the subconscious mind and the negativity. It keeps you from enjoying life, from focusing and being in the present moment. So that is not true. Preparing for the worst is the best way to keep me from disillusions. Wrong again. But it is a belief system of self-protection. If you prepare for the worst, most likely you're going to contribute to that because you attract that by your thinking pattern and your body being in a survival, stressful mode. Worrying prepares me for catastrophe. That's another form of self-protection. That is a payoff for the person who is attached to that negative thinking pattern. Worrying is the way to protect myself. So they're all very similar, but these are wrong beliefs that this person acquired early in life to cope with an environment of fear. And they repeat it so much that it is automatic. When I say automatic, it means that you don't even have to make an effort. It is constantly in your background. It's like the music playing constantly behind, your conscious mind. Now, the actual consequences of these behavior are anxiety, depression, low self-esteem, poor concentration, self-absorption, accident prone, as I mentioned before, and frequently sick. So in reality, when you compare the payoff and the actual consequences, the real one at the actual consequences, we don't get any of these payoffs, because these payoffs are just a lie, something that we once developed as a defense mechanism in order to justify the behavior. And we repeated it so much, but they only cause us pain and negative consequences. Now, the last column is, alternatives, which is healthier choices of habits that we need to learn in order to replace and kind of repair the damage done. And in the book, I give an explanation for each one of these habits, for you to understand, not only how, the steps to take in order to acquire these habits, but also, the scientific explanation of why these habits will replace the negative ones, in order for you to achieve a healthier life, both physically and emotionally. So regular exercise is a must. Meditation, positive affirmations, especially to fight those negative thinking patterns that you're so addicted to. Writing down your worries, starting a new hobby, invest time in creativity, improve your eating habits, self-help reading, and this book is part of it, support groups, therapy, and many others that I mentioned in the book. So this is just, Jesse, an example of the summary of all the work that people need to do in order to change their unhealthy thinking patterns and basically change their lives.
That's wonderful, Edie. I think that having this diagram as part of our video today will really show the viewers and prepare them for an insight look of what the tools that will be available to them in the book. I personally did this analysis when I went through your resistance breaker workshop, and for me it just took the work to another level, because it was there and I did it myself. It wasn't someone telling me, it's me really owning those maladaptive behaviors and folk working on changing them. And like I said, it's been a journey, and we always have some that we get rid of quicker than others. So I really think this is going to be very useful for those that are going to read the book and are the first time watching our videos today. So just to summarize our video, we discussed how habits are formed, how fear shows up when we're about to change or want to explore changing those habits. But with this book, you will have practical tools on how to overcome that fear and step into fear so you can reach those goals that you're working so hard to get to. We spoke about excuses that we make when we try to change the habit. How can we change our habits? And also the habit breaking analysis, will be featuring that in the video as well. And then is there any other final thoughts or words that you wanted to add? For those that are just tuning in, you can watch this on YouTube and Facebook, and make sure you follow us at Reflections of Your Mirror on all three channels, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Did you want to add anything else before we wrap up?
Well, I just want to add that basically, the ultimate goal, and it's related to the name of the book, Reflections of Your Mirror, is being able to change that reflection, that negative reflection that you have yourself. Because while we are having negative perceptions and faulty perceptions of ourselves, we are projecting that into the world, and we are co-creating our situations and our relationships, and whatever defects and whatever struggles and whatever we blame other people for our suffering, it is directly related to you. Yeah. So basically what I'm trying to tell you, that by, instead of putting the emphasis on wanting other people to change for you, it works the other way around. You change your internal perception, you change your habits, and you generate a different type of energy. You start operating at a different frequency. And by doing so, that's how your environment change. So actually, you learn to control your environment. Instead of trying to control your environment to feel better, you learn by changing yourself. You learn to attract people and situations that are similar to your authentic self. So you pretty much align to your path, to your true path, so to your authentic self. And that's when we become the creators that we're supposed to be.
Yeah.
That's when you create, your dreams. That's when you feel excited about life. You change from being on survival mode to being on creative mode. And that's pretty much what we're trying to do, changing your internal image so you can change, your external environment and your perception of life.
That's beautiful.
Does that make sense? Okay.
Yes, yes. I think that it was a great way to summarize, all of the videos that we've already put out there, and this one to prepare them for the book. I think that was beautifully said. I don't have anything else to add. Just so everyone that's watching, I'm going to be linking down below all of the profile pages, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook, so you can follow us there, and be sure to stay tuned and follow our posts so you can hear about the launch. And we look forward to seeing you in future videos. If you have friends or family that speak Spanish, we're going to be doing this video in Spanish as well. And also showing a diagram, habit breaking tool table in Spanish, so you can share that with them also. Okay, well, thank you so much. Thank you for being with us, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you, everyone.